In this video, we're going to look at the location of stadiums and the cost associated with the construction. The Minnesota Vikings new stadium, which was completed a couple years ago, cost about $1.1 billion, massive sum of money, an increase of over $1 billion from their last, which cost about $100 million. Over time, the cost of sports facilities has risen, and it's for a lot of reasons. There's been more elaborate facilities with sophisticated scoreboards, restaurants, wireless internet. There's been more of an expanded footprint of the contemporary facilities. The more outside attractions with them that are associated with the stadium. More restaurants within the stadium, which means it has to be larger, so forth. And on top of that, the per unit cost of urban space has risen. Okay. Location also takes place on a larger scale when you look at the national boundary. So in and out of the United States, for example. So from the mid-90s to mid-2000s, there was a steady flow of Canadian hockey franchises to the United States. The Montreal Expos even moved to DC. Now, in 2011, for the first time in a while, there was a reverse with the U.S. hockey franchise moving north. Now, the reason why there was this is change between the mid-90s and mid-2000s is because of the exchange rates between the United States and Canada. And over that time, the strength of the Canadian dollar relative to the US dollar was getting larger and larger. And so Canadian franchise had to pay particular attention to the two currencies, as most of their revenue was from Canadian dollars. But they needed to compete for players on a cross-national market, and so a lot of their players, they're competing against U.S. franchises, and so they basically had to look at U.S. dollars as what they had to pay. Right? And with that, the exchange rate affected the ability for them to compete. So they got their money from Canada, but they had to pay for their players with essentially U.S. dollars. So nowadays, most stadiums are not in the center of cities. Sports franchises are most beneficial in terms of revenue and the impact when they're in the center of cities, but city space is very limited and costly. So in general, the price of real estate in cities is higher than in the suburbs. And because of that, in order to build a stadium in the middle of a city, you'd have to pay a lot more for the land, which would make the overall construction costs much more expensive. Okay. So let's just talk about the spending aspect. So from 1990 to 2007, teams, leagues, and cities spent about $49 billion on nearly 130 new sports infrastructure projects. Right? So if you remember when we talked in the last video, we talked about kind of that boom of stadium building during that period. Now, of that $49 billion, about half was spent by the public sector, but the actual public subsidy may have been larger because a lot of factors were not counted, basically. Okay. So we talked about this a little bit previously. The bidding wars for sports franchises do differ from normal auction markets for two big reasons. One, when a city wins the franchise, they do not get any ownership rights. Okay. And the cities do not pay directly for the teams they won, but they pay for the facilities for those teams to play in. Okay. Now, these leagues have gone through a lot of lengths to prevent cities from owning the franchises. Okay, so they want to stop the cities from having ownership rights. Major League Baseball owners blocked an attempt to give the Padres of San Diego after Joan Kroc, husband who owned it, he died and passed to her. She wanted to leave it to the city. The league stepped in and stopped that. The NFL's bylaws do specifically require that teams have an individual majority owner. Now, a lot of people might say, well, the Green Bay Packers are frequently cited as an exemption to the rule against public ownership, but the Packers are not actually owned by Green Bay. They are a publicly held corporation. Now, there's two reasons why the leagues would oppose this. One, because a municipality-owned team is not mobile, so they couldn't move to another area if it's determined to be more profitable. So because a municipality-owned is immobile, the city could provide facilities on their own terms. And this would take away from some of the monopoly power that these teams had. And in addition, the city ownership would make the finance of the team a matter of public record. And the leagues have gone through a lot of steps to kind of keep these private. From 2000, this says since 2010, but it's really 2010 through about 2017 or 18. There's been about over $11 billion on new facilities for North American sports teams. And about half has come from the local governments. Now, the full burden of facility on a city is higher because in addition to paying for the stadium, the city also has to pay for the services for that stadium. So there's services to account for that stadium be there. So they have to pay for infrastructure like roads and utilities, plus ongoing services such as increased police and sanitation. Because you have more people coming there, so you need more police to work it, you need more sanitation to clean, so forth. Now, in addition to that, cities will often donate the land that the facility is built on, and by doing that, if you talk about opportunity costs, they're actually giving up the revenue they could have made by either using it, renting it out, or selling the property. So, the public share has ranged from 0 to 100%, and it really varies by city. So finally, because many of these stadiums' costs are indirect or unobservable, it's hard to measure, and estimating the public share of stadium costs can vary widely. There are a lot of these costs and benefits that are not fully realized, and that can be a problem. So that's just a broad overview of stadium costs and financing associated with it.